Hello, beautiful. I'm so glad to be with you. Um, boy, I've had a week. And I thought, well, you know what? Let's use my terrible week to talk about a financial concept that in the background of my terrible week is sitting there as reassurance and something I feel a lot of gratitude for. So, on today's episode, I want to talk to you about your emergency fund. Um, I had a really wonderful client who wrote to me and said, she really likes the way I rephrase a lot of financial concepts so that they sound more like what they really are and they feel less alarming. And she actually had a suggestion. This was Yara. So, Yara, thank you. She had a suggestion that I call it something different than an emergency fund, because to her, she felt like emergency fund is very triggering. It feels like panic and upset. Um, so we can play with the idea of like a safety cushion. Maybe we'll, instead of focusing on the emergency part, focus on the soft landing aspect of it. So maybe we'll talk about it as a safety cushion today. But the financial concept really is that you want to have, before you tie up all of your money into paying off your debt, into investing, and into what bucket of investments you want to have that money in, you need a certain chunk of money um, set aside that is easily accessible. It can be in a high interest savings account. That would be fine. But in general, you don't want it in something like investments, like stocks, because you need it to be liquid. Liquid is the financial term for easily accessible, something you can have immediately, right? So an emergency fund or a safety cushion is about 3 to 6 months of life expenses that you can use in case something goes terribly wrong in your life and you lose your job, for example, or experience a natural disaster and are out of your home. If a bad worst case scenario type of thing happens to you, having savings that is set aside in a liquid form, something you can access easily, that can save you from honestly becoming homeless. I think that's probably one of the worst case scenarios, but from losing your apartment, from experiencing a true terrifying disaster. So, what called this to mind to me today is that I've had a real week filled with emergencies that were very expensive, and if this had happened to me at an earlier stage in my life, I would have managed. I would have figured it out, but I probably would have done it with credit card debt versus the privileged place that I'm sitting now, having spent some time building up my savings cushion where I can pay for these things out of pocket without incurring any interest, without them costing any more. And that's been really wonderful. So I'll tell you a little bit about my crazy week. So I had a dental issue. I won't bore you with the details, but essentially, I had a very expensive oral surgery a couple years ago. I had a dental implant and it failed, right? So, like, I had bone loss and this implant that cost me $4,000 six years ago failed. And now I need surgery to take it out and to get a bone graft and like maybe have a new implant. It's not good options, but in other words, I needed to have emergency dental surgery this week. That was not my favorite time. Um, in general, I'm very lucky. I'm in very good health. I eat well and I work out a lot, and I'm lucky to have a high level of fitness. So I feel very lucky when it comes to my health. But definitely all my bad health seems to be located inside my mouth. It's it's just, I was like sitting in the oral surgeon's office. It's like, I don't know, maybe my fifth or sixth oral surgery of my life. I'm like, yeah, I know the drill. I've been in here before. So anyway, suffice it to say that this was a moment, this was not something I planned on. It's not a fun thing to spend my money on. But even though it was just really upsetting, annoying, expensive news, I have the money to cover it. I have the money to cover what I need to do. And I really was just feeling very grateful to be able to pay for an emergency procedure that I needed, right? So there's that. It happens that that wasn't the end of my story either. Also, our car broke this week. So I had to get an emergency tow of our family car this week. And then the people at the dealership did not bother to ask if this was an electric car. And once we paid for the tow to get the car to the dealership, they were like, oh, we don't service electric cars. I was like, you think maybe you could have mentioned that before we paid $85 to have the car towed there? But anyway, so we had to get a second tow to a place that could service our car. So we've been without a car for over a week right now. And of course, that's going to cost money too. Um, so it's just been a heck of a week. And if you want the honest, like cherry on top, we saw our chickens kind of out in the yard where they are not supposed to be yesterday. And we're like, oh, I wonder how did the chickens get out? We went down to the yard to look, and there's, a notorious sign that living in a place with a very robust bear population, we have come to learn the signs of a bear. So we see that the fence has been just pulled and scrunched down, and a bear has clearly destroyed our fence and walked into our chicken coop, and then a huge pile of feathers. And then, 20 feet away, another area of the fence destroyed, and we see the carcass of our dearly beloved Ariana Grande. May she rest in peace. One of our several hip hop chickens. And Lazo was gone as well. So we lost 2 chickens in the last 24 hours in the same week as emergency dental surgery and our car breaking down. And we had a chicken killed 2 weeks ago as well. So this is 3 chickens out of 7 that we've lost in 2 weeks. Anyway, it's been a week. It's been a week. So I hope you're enjoying your summer. I hope you're having a great time outdoors. We are too. I am too. But just having a little moment of, I don't know, Mercury in retrograde or something. So I thought I would just use that as an excuse to talk to you about the financial part of that, which is setting aside some money into a liquid format. So that is a format where you can take the money out easily. So it can be a high interest savings account, could be a regular savings account, but something where you can access that money without having to go through, a brokerage, a sales of capital gains, or, some kind of like complexity. You want to be able to pay for that tow, pay for that, dental surgery as soon as they require you to. So, I want you to take a look at your own personal finances. Hopefully you're doing all of the things that you should be. I will do an episode next week on the order of operations for personal finance. It's a very important concept to understand the order that you should put your spare money into different buckets, so that you're covered for things like an emergency. But for today, you should know that the very first bucket when it comes to personal finance and protecting yourself is to have cash in an emergency fund. Should be 3 to 6 months of living expenses in case the worst happens, in case you lose your job, you lose your place to live. That gives you enough leeway to find a place to live really quickly, hopefully lower your expenses, and be able to live for a couple of months without income, enough to buy you time to find a job. That's the idea. And I always recommend, now 3 to 6 months is the sort of standard like TV personal finance personality amount. But actually, if you are a freelancer, if you work for yourself, it is a good idea to have a bigger and more robust emergency fund, something more in the order of 6 to 12 months of living expenses. And the reason there is because when you work for yourself, you probably are not going to be able to just go out and get a job. right away, you may need to rebuild your business, and some of that is going to necessarily involve a longer timeline. So if that is you, understand that that basic advice, 3 to 6 months, is going to be a little bigger for you, and you'll want 6 to 12 months of emergency savings or safety cushion savings. So I hope that little tidbit has been helpful for you. I hope that your week has looked nothing like mine. I hope you are enjoying the sunshine wherever you are, swimming in swimming holes, reading books, whatever gives you pleasure in the summer. And I hope you're enjoying it. All right. I will see you on the next one. Take care, everybody. Bye. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, be sure to like, leave a comment, and subscribe to my channel. I'm so grateful for that. This video is for education and entertainment only. Nothing in this episode should be taken as individual tax or financial advice. You can find all the tools, books, and links I reference at sunlighttax.com/podcast.